Welcome to the FPL USA Press Play Podcast. We are the official audio home of hashtag FPL USA. This is the home for degenerates who want some fun, some banter, and all the relevant FPL content. I'm Bucks. I'm joined by one of my besties on the West Coast. It's Brian. Brian, how the hell are you?
Ahoy! I like the bass in your voice, Bucks. We are ready to have a great pod with a double game week 24 on the horizon. But first, game week 23 is a moment to behold. So I can't wait to be here with you today. You're looking good. Got your Chelsea kit on. 3 big points. First win in what? Fucking 6 matches for Chelsea? Oofed.
Way too long. I'm here. I'm dressed to impress. I was dressed to rub Black Wolf's nose in it a little bit, maybe just a little bit of friendly ribbing and banter here as Chelsea win the double on the podcast derby this season. Revenge for last season when Dan was really gloating all his way towards the 6 points.
Did they get all 6 last year? Oh,
they did.
Oh, yikes.
This year we got a little bit of revenge. We only hung 8 goals on them in the 2 matches Chelsea did. So let's give a little golf clap to our Chelsea Blues. Love to see it.
Yet again, we see no points, though, for Cole, Palmer, and Nico Jackson. So let's transition to your team, Bucks, as I know that you ended up on the Palm God captain the last match of the game week, which is exciting to see all the other caps blank for the most part, and then you have a live dog in the race on a Monday, but unfortunately, he did not deliver big points.
Yeah, he blanked also. I was feeling like such a smug little shit. I was in the office. I'm watching the games. I block out a little meeting slot to make sure I'm watching part of the first half.
Very smart.
And yeah, I was like, oh, he's for sure. I'm going to have some luck come Bucks' way this season, only to be disappointed once again. Palmer disappoints, and so does my overall FPL team. I am the low man on the totem pole in the overall rank, but also in game week 22, as we do a quick recap. I land on 46 points all out, which is a small red arrow. Hard to believe at my rank, 950,000 in the world, that I'm suffering another red
Top
arrow.
Million.
That's the kind of season it's been so far. You said the bass in my voice was low, but it's not as low as my rank is right now in the FPL game. It's been a little brutal.
Yeah, I mean, this was a low-scoring game week, so not basically close to a gray dot, right, for you? Like, not too bad.
Yeah, like a 20K red arrow.
More importantly, though, let's highlight the transfers that you made this past week.
Yeah, great shout. I moved off Bergvall and Nico Jackson. I brought in Chris Wood, player I really wanted to get, as well as Ahmad. And yeah, it seemed to have come off. First time owning Chris Wood all season. What an experience it is to wake up with points in your FPL team. Just, trust the Kiwi and he delivers.
Instant 12-pointer for you when you transfer him in. So you are now officially part of the forest with all of us tall woodies standing strong, just getting points galore. But I think that was the biggest miss for a lot of FPL managers, was looking at the likes of Wood for captaincy, right? That could have been a very, very nice way to gain rank this week, but I didn't have the guts to do it. I don't know. What about you, Bucks? Did you ever think about Wood as a top captain choice?
Not really, because I had Salah and Palmer and Isak. And again, I went with Palmer this week after going Isak last week. I had no qualms about that yellow flag that was on Palmer, knowing that he was able to finish the previous match. He played the full 90, even after going down in the first half with what looked like an ankle knock. And again, he had the most time to recover as Chelsea played the last fixture on Monday. So I was always pretty set on my decision. That being said, a lot of managers who've had Chris Wood for the long term are feasting in the forest. I'm more in the patch where the Lorax lives. It's pretty low and barren where I'm at. And so finally, it just feels good to bring Chris Wood in, right a long time wrong that I have been missing his points. And yeah, now it's time to splash some kind of surprising moves, I think, as I look to mix it up and climb some rank.
Yeah, you're going to climb that truffula tree and make sure to find the goodness at the top of it, and hopefully some some tufts of green arrows to come in your near future, Bucks. We'll transition quickly to my team. I am very happy to have rolled my transfer once again, and I got a green arrow, 8% green arrow. But when you're at my rank, that's a big deal. So I went from 9.9K to 9.1K overall, and a couple lads that really came in big for me. Jedi Robinson, the American, one of the stars of hashtag FPL USA, comes in with an 8-pointer versus Leicester away. Trent comes good, 11-pointer, his second double-digit haul in the last handful of game weeks. Chris Wood, Eze is a little bit of a differential for me, comes in with 6 points. So back-to-back 6-pointers from him after I transferred Semenyo out. Still behind on those transfers, though, because Semenyo has been looking pretty good. Gets another assist this week. But overall, happy to be where I'm at. And 4 free transfers this game week. Probably going to roll again. And then, like you said, it's time to get wacky and crazy with the upcoming double game week and chip season just around the corner.
Yeah, everything's coming up free guac in your FPL team right now. It's like
free guac is expensive too, usually.
I know. Let's just give quick commiserations and the spotlight to Black Wolf, who's missing in action here. We love you, Dan. He ends up with the highest score of the 3 hosts, 56 points all out.
Well done.
Green arrow up to 550,000 in the world. The average in FPL Game Week 22 was a meager 46 points. So I'm glad that I at least hit the average. That means that I'm not getting an F in the FPL department just yet. Other game weeks, I'll bring my average back down. But the manager of the game week, Brian, you want to shout out who topped the scoring in our free-to-enter press play premiership, our podcast mini league?
The Order Saga, a.k.a. Tomatrope Adeyemi, comes in with a huge 79-point score, up to 125K overall. Did I see a bench boost in this guy's team this week?
Yeah, huge 19 points off the bench. Sneaky. I think he had Trent on the bench as one of those spots. Also gets a nice handful of points coming in from Burnt Toast Leno. So just a really strong team. He also was on Palmer captain. So I wasn't the only village idiot this game week. Most of the most popular captains, all blank. Salah, Palmer, Isak, all with blanks. Hate to see it.
Yeah, tough to see. Hopefully next week we will be back on the green gravy train for captaincy points. So,
amen. Let's keep it moving. Let's talk about the biggest storylines around the league in game week 22. I think we can't go further than starting with the Cherries. Bournemouth, they travel to Newcastle. There was no team in the Premier League hotter than Newcastle coming into this match. Second hottest team was the Cherries, and they came in and they absolutely stomped and crushed the dreams of Gordies everywhere, smashing them 4-1 away. Unreal match. This was a super fun one. Unexpected scoreline, though, right?
Oh my goodness, to start the game week. I mean, you're tripled up on Newcastle. You got Hall, you have Isak, you have Gordon. That was very shocking to see, especially at home in front of their crowd at St. James Park. And we would have thought that with the likes of Evan Nilsson and their backup Unal going out with injuries that they might struggle a little bit. But Dango Unchained, £5 million out of position midfielder playing striker for them. He gets an assist, almost gets the double return with a goal later that was actually beautifully taken, but just gets chalked off from an offside call. But overall, you just have to be very impressed with this Bournemouth team. They continue to stump a lot of their tough opponents, and I'm just impressed. Anytime they go into a match, I think they could get a 3-point victory, and they've beaten some of the top clubs this season.
Yeah, they are FPL gold mines. They have a lot of mid-price assets. Semenyo, Kluivert, you mentioned Dango, Watra. Kluivert, he's the star of this game week. I don't think he's a very popular player to own in the
Kluivert
midfield.
converts, man. Kluivert converts from the penalty spot, but this game in the open play as well. Very, very surprising to see him put up a phenomenal 22 mother bleeping points. Oh
It's his
my goodness.
second 20-plus point haul of the season. He ends up with a hat trick and an assist and 3 bonus points to boot. He was the chief feaster when it comes to the Cherries, but there was a lot of contributions. I thought Kirkes had a fantastic game. He had a goal, ends up with 7 huge FPL points. Semenyo got an assist. You mentioned Dango. He got an assist. It was all fun and games for Bournemouth in this one, and I think we really have to give credit to their coach, Ariola.
Iriola. Yeah.
Iriola. Sorry, I have Black Wolf on my mind when I said Ariola there. And
I thought you were talking about the keeper at West Ham on the bench right now.
No, not the booby man at West Ham. Really impressive. I think Bournemouth, serious team. They're making a real case to be in those European spots this season. They're not an easy fixture, despite what the fixture difficulty rating might say.
Yeah, they're firmly in contention for European action this season. And I mean, they very, very nearly came away with 3 points versus Chelsea at the Bridge as well. You know, it took a Reece James' first goal. So they could have beaten 2 relatively top 5 teams in the Premier League back to back. So well done to them. And at the same time, the most disappointing thing was just the lack of service that Newcastle got to Isak. Isak was going to go for his 9th straight Premier League game with a goal. He had 1 total shot, and that was from like 40 yards away in this match. Very few touches, very little involvement, and really just like the press. That is something that Bournemouth takes either at home, and it also travels with them away. They really exert a lot of energy. They press high, and Isak and Gordon had very little times that they were kind of heavily involved. I think Anthony Gordon had a goal potentially that was going to come in and get chalked off the line, and that was like one of the biggest FPL moments of the week for those guys.
Totally true. That's a great shout. But we should also note that they played 3 games in 6 days, so they were pretty tired. I expect we'll return to normal programming with Newcastle come game week 23 on the weekend.
I mean, I'm excited for just the regular FPL week, right? Games on Saturday, Sunday, maybe a Monday match, and then 5 full days until the next deadline. I'm ready to ease back into our regular scheduled programming. But
yeah,
double game weeks around the horizon. So, but I think
don't get too comfortable. Yeah,
isn't there I think there's 12 days in between Liverpool's matches though, but they have the tie with Spurs in the middle. Oh my God, this is gonna pain us if our Liverpool assets get injured in that club tie where they actually need to win and put out a strong lineup. Oh my God, I can see it now.
Yeah, speaking of Liverpool, great transition. You're clearly a pro here. They keep the magic going even without, I would say, their best showing this season. They win 2-0 at the G-Tech against Brentford. Thought this was a really even match for the most part, but Slot seems to have a real good feel for bringing the right guys off the bench in the right moments. Darwin was the super sub in this one. He comes off the bench with a brace. Probably should have gotten a red card. I think that was something Slot even alluded to in the post-game press conference. But he ends up with 11 points for FPL managers, 2 goals, a yellow card, and 3 bonus points. Salah blanks only the, I think, 4th time all season. But the real player who I think sparkled was Trent. He had 11 FPL points, an assist, clean sheet, 2 bonus points. For much of the game, he was the best player, and he was very close to a 20-ish point haul. He had a couple shots and a couple other chances for more attacking returns. I thought he was brilliant.
I was just waiting for one of Trent's shots and one of Liverpool's 37 shots in this match. And it took him until extra time to finally convert one of those mother bleepers. It was a very resolute performance from Brentford until the final 5 minutes. And I have to give him some credit because I thought this could have been a 3 or 4-1 type of match given what we've seen from Liverpool this season. So big results there. better days ahead for Mboma owners like myself. He had a relatively lively match, had a few decent chances. But yeah, anytime you play Liverpool, it's a tough match, whether it's home or away. So I think a big part of our hashtag FPL community questions that we'll address a little bit later in the show, we'll talk about the Liverpool assets ahead of the double because they play Ipswich at home this week too. So a lot of managers are thinking about
Yum
bringing them
yum.
in. And we are recording on Tuesday, 21st of January, and we've already seen Liverpool play their Champions League match versus Lille. So this is one where we saw Trent get a full rest. Mo plays 90. Diaz and Darwin start, and then Gakpo gets a rest. So the plot thickens. Gakpo start versus Ipswich is looking very, very nice. And then it's hard to say, but Nunez played really well today. He had a fantastic rating and score from the judges, set up 3 or 4 chances, and had a very impactful game for him instead of being a chaos merchant taking 18 shots. So just something to watch as we're trying to figure out between Diaz and Gakpo, and then of course the defenders to have our triple up. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But so far, no injuries coming out of the UCL match, and I think Konate as well got a full rest because did you see that he's been taking painkillers, getting shot up, trying
Yeah, I
to
saw
play
that.
through this pain because they can't trust Kwanzaa at all.
That was
Yeah.
a throwback to the early aughts and 90s ball when, these guys would play with, broken legs and with 3 concussions. We've gone soft into the 2020s, to say the least, or at least that's what my grandfather would say. Let's
I don't blame him.
transition.
I don't blame him. Give me that. Give me that hit. Give me that -4, and so I can play out there on the pitch. I need the drugs.
Yeah, I respect it. Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that Gakpo is the kind of second choice of those front 3. I know I'm a Luis Diaz owner going into this Ipswich at home match. We'll certainly talk a little bit more about Liverpool considering they're in focus with the double game week coming up. But I'm definitely worried. I think it might require some surgery there because you want to have an optimal triple up, and it feels disgusting. It feels gross, to be honest, to even think about ripping a player that has 3 great fixtures coming up in 2 game weeks out of your team. But I think it might be on the menu for certain managers like myself. So we'll leave that where it is for now. Let's talk just briefly on the Sunday fixtures because this was an explosion of goals. All the winning teams had at least 3 goals, and Manchester City, they just absolutely blew the doors off the Tractor Boys. They beat them 6-0. And
This was surprising to me. I did not see them scoring 6. Maybe like a 3-1 was something that I was thinking about. They came to fucking look for blood, bloodshed emerging out of throats in this one.
yeah, there was gore and lots of goals on Sunday for sure. Biggest beneficiaries, Phil Foden. Another brilliant performance from him. He's really rounding into form. And if you are a patient FPL manager who stuck true to him, he's been rewarding those managers in the last 5 or so game weeks. He drops 19 points, 2 goals, an assist, clean sheet, and 3 bonus points in this one. KDB also had a great match. And then beyond that, we talked about City and how dominant they were, but Everton, Forest, and Brighton also had really strong showings. I think most shocking of all was Everton because they have the new manager under David Moyes, and they put on a real display. It looked like they've actually been practicing offense in training, which is nice to see. They scored 3 goals. DCL had a goal. Ndiaye had a goal. Makes that double game week a little more compelling, doesn't it, Brian?
I mean, especially because they're playing Leicester at home. If they were playing anybody else in the top 15, I would probably not be interested in their assets at all. But because half of that double game weekend, both matches are at home. Half's going to be against Leicester, who are sitting 19th in the table. Their assets are potentially worth fitting into your team. So we'll make sure to cover that a little bit more. And wow, just capitulation from the Spurs side. They try a new system in the first 45 minutes. It goes to shit almost immediately. The lads were not ready for that, and Ange is still sticking around with us at the moment, but I would not be surprised if they get their doors blown off versus Liverpool in the cup if we see Ange taking an exit, unfortunately. He's an Australian guy. I love the mate, but he's very ornery right now and very prickly with the media. And with all these injuries, not having any of their first team center backs, it's been rough. It's been rough. And, it's something where they're not getting results. They're sitting, 15th in the table? That is not good
Now
enough
he's
for
cooked.
Tottenham.
He's
Yeah.
he's more burnt than forgotten shrimp on the Barbie. That guy is not Premier League quality in my estimation. I don't think that's a strategy and a style that will work in this current iteration of the Premier League, where there's so much competition, where the level of managers, even at bottom half clubs, is exceptional,
Yeah.
and there's
I
no
mean,
game weeks off.
I can see McKenna coming over from Ipswich to coach Tottenham. Like, I think that would be an interesting hire for
Interesting.
them. He's very well regarded. He's somebody that I think is a manager on the rise. So just putting that out there into the ethos. We'll see if that fortune cookie comes true later in the season. But Ange's hot seat, and you got teams like Manchester United and Tottenham. They're has-beens right now. They are not playing great football. They're getting
Not
crushed
Big
by the
Six
mid-table teams.
caliber. Not
Definitely
Big
not.
Six
Definitely not.
caliber anymore. Let's take our first break. I think we could let it lie there. When we come back, we will fast forward into our Game Week 23 preview.
Hit the fast forward button. It's time to look at the fixtures to come in Game Week 23. Bucks, we want lots of FPL points, and there are a few that are really sticking out. So I want to highlight Newcastle at Southampton as the first match. This is a get right match after Newcastle came down to earth. They'd been flying on cloud nine for many, many game weeks, about 2 months, really. They went on a huge stretch during the holidays. So what are your predictions here? Is this just an auto start for your three assets, and you're expecting 20 plus points combined from those three assets?
Yes, and yes. I think this is going to be kicking it old school. And when I say old school, I mean going all the way back to the times of the Old Testament, if not the New Testament, the St. James Bible, because I don't know what the Saints' sin was, but they're getting an old-fashioned stoning in this one. They are going to get absolutely murdered by Newcastle. I think this has 4-0 to the visitors written all over it. And yes, Southampton, they've been looking better since the new coach came in. They've made some tweaks to their lineup to be a little more progressive and aggressive, but they're just a team that's missing on talent right now. I mean, Dibbling is pretty clearly their best player, and I think the lad is like 20 years old, so they're just in big trouble.
There's a lot of rumors about him possibly getting swooped up in the January transfer window as well.
I saw that.
I think he's 18. He's
Yeah.
super young. So if some teams can swoop in and buy early, I mean, he's been a mainstay in their side. They scored 2 goals. They made a game of it. They almost came back and tied
They
that
almost
match
got a
in the
result.
extra time. Yeah, Ola Aina, who comes in big for NFO with an assist earlier in the match, clears a game-tying 6th goal off the line in that one. So yeah, it's a spot where I expect lots of goals from the Newcastle boys, and I'm not sure if Jacob Murphy is going to be playing in this one. I know he's kind of picked up a little bit of a knock, went
A
off
little
early.
knock. Yeah, I saw that.
But Gordon and Isak get back to their winning ways. I'm thinking a goal and assist for Isak and a goal for Gordon.
I was going to say, with Hall in the mix, I actually, maybe I'm getting a little greedy here, but I might be a little disappointed to only leave that match with 20 points in my pocket. And I think Isak has to be in consideration for captaincy. I don't think that's a crazy shout. Like I said, this is totally a get right, get back in the winning ways, get back in the 3 points kind of match for Newcastle. It lines up perfectly.
Yep, like that shout. All right, next up, Ipswich, the Tractor Boys, come into Anfield to mow the grass and tend to their back line. I don't think it's going to go well, though. We saw a 2-1 win for Liverpool in UCL today. They'll probably rotate their assets back in and just crush just crush the boys. I'm saying 3-1 to Liverpool, and they give up a late goal in the last 10 minutes. But earlier, they will be cruising 3-up.
Oh, I don't see that at all. I think this is a cruel stretch of the season for Ipswich. They just lost 6-0 at home to Man City. I think Liverpool are motivated. They hang 5-0 to the home team. And
5?
it's a party at Anfield the entire second half because they're already 3-0 up going into halftime. And
then is
listen,
that Enciso deal done for Ipswich?
I'm glad you brought that up because I think Ipswich, to their credit, they are one of the most ambitious teams going into this January winter
Yeah, they're at
transfer
least trying to
window.
stay up. Yeah.
They are spending money in order to cement a spot in the Premier League for next season. And I really like the way that they're going about it. They've signed a second winger, Julian Enciso, young talent from Brighton, is now going to be an Ipswich player. It's not signed, but it's gotten a here we go from Fab. So that makes me think it's going to happen. And they also brought in that Philogene guy, 25 million pound deal all in from Aston Villa. This is another young winger who wasn't getting tons of minutes at Villa. I think they both could end up being starters or getting heavy minutes in the back half of the season for Ipswich.
Yeah, the Enciso
they need goals to stay up.
Yeah, the Enciso one is, he's pretty pacey. He got injured last year, and that's kind of put him out of the rotation over at Brighton. But 20 years old, like, this is the perfect type of buy because even if they don't stay up, that's a guy who's going to be hungry and really get 3,000 plus minutes next year in the Flamp in the championship. So, I appreciate the effort to try and stay up. I don't see Southampton making any moves.
I think
unrealistic. But with the bottom 5 here, like, especially if Cunha leaves Wolves, there's going to be competition at the bottom of the table for who's going to stay up. So I like the moves. They're going to have some pace. Delap is like, he's fucking stud. Like, he's going to be a good player in the Premier League for a long time.
$80 to $100 million player next season, whether they stay up or not.
Yeah, he would be a perfect backup for Erling Haaland. Womp womp.
he might be a perfect starter at Chelsea, depending on how Enzo and Joe Shields look at him.
Yeah,
that kid is the truth. He's a Mack truck of a man, and he's only a kid.
To be able to play with your back to goal for hold up, and then also have the pace to like outrun some of the fullbacks with ease. Like, it's a good combination. So anyway, Ipswich, I wouldn't mind if they stay up and we can fuck off one of these other teams who
just not Wolves, because we need to protect Dan's mentals.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
maybe somebody else like Everton.
Whatever. I wouldn't hate that. But speaking of Wolves, Dan's mentals aren't going to get protected, I don't think, in game week 23 because they host the Arsenal, and I think the Gunners. Listen, they've had injuries, but I don't think they're bringing a knife to this gunfight. I think they are going to smash Wolves. I think this is 3-1. I think Wolves get a goal. Maybe 3-2. I think maybe it's closer than I.
This run for Wolves has been insane. In game week 21, they had Newcastle, then Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, Liverpool, Bournemouth, Fulham. Oof, that is a murderous row. And the body language from Cunha, he looked like he was not too happy. I had thought, and I had read that he had signed that contract extension, but apparently terms were not agreed. And
no, that's not the case. He's agreed personal terms with Wolves. He's agreed personal terms with Arsenal. Now, neither deal has been fully executed, and that's what the holdup is right now. So both teams have terms agreed with the player. Now, of course, would you rather be in a relegation battle or in Champions League? I think it's pretty clear, where my money would go. And, I think there's just more ambition that this Cunha guy has than being at Wolves if they're not going to be splashing the cash, making an Ipswich-style play to stay in the Premier League next season. He is not championship quality. He is a really world-class player. So,
yeah,
the
situation... The situation kind of reminds me of when like Rafinha was at Leeds, and you're like, this player is just so much better than everybody else on the pitch.
Everyone
for this
else,
Leeds side.
Agreed.
And that's the same fucking vibes I get with Cunha. And they're kind of also, they're both Brazilian, but they're in that profile of 24, 25, like just ready to take that next leap into the world stage. And I think I would love to see him at Arsenal. I think he's just a very technical player that can link up and could really bolster their goal scoring efforts.
Yeah, and he'd be an auto starter, but it's not just Wolves and Arsenal, because it's come out that also Nottingham Forest are in the mix for him. Chelsea are interested in submitting a
It's
late
good.
bid.
I've been a little bit like underwhelmed by the window so far. I'm like, where are the moves? Like, give me some more moves. There's just been like
There
a
should be
few.
some spice.
Yeah, the
Still a
last 10
couple
days
couple
here.
days left here,
Does it? It
and
just ends at the end of the month.
end of the month. That's
Okay,
correct.
yeah, 10
All
days. All
right,
right.
so I think 3-1. What's your prediction? Arsenal at Wolves.
I got 3-0. This is the last
Oh shit!
game week.
Finally,
that
an
I'm gonna
Arsenal
back.
clean sheet at Dan's expense. I
Oh
hate
my
to see it.
goodness. Yeah. Well, we'll see. It would be funny for Cunha to wipe the clean and then fuck off to the Gunners. That would be a
Yeah, he should
poetic
celebrate.
FPL justice.
Really like take the corner flag. Start doing some
Yeah,
expletive celebration there.
Arteta is dropping in those DMs trying to find a cozy place by the fire to warm up with Cunha after that match is over.
Yeah, of course. He's going to send his pickpocket to just steal him right out of the Wolves locker room. Let's go to the best matches in real life. I shortened this down to 2 games. I actually think it's a interesting but swingy kind of game week when you just look at the fixtures. The clear best match has to be Chelsea at Manchester City. Now, I'm not just saying that because I'm a die-in-the-wool, drunken, biased Chelsea fan who wears dark blue all the time. But I think these are 2 teams that have top 4 aspirations. City, all of a sudden, are back in form. Chelsea, less so. Not the best time to be traveling to the Etihad after they just hung 6 goals. And coming off a Champions League match, I think it's going to be 3-2 to the hosts.
Yeah, I want to point out that right now I think Manchester City sits in like 20th place. So they actually really need to get a full 3-point W in Champions League. So maybe they suffer a little bit of fatigue playing on Wednesday and then playing again against Chelsea on the weekend. You hope that would be helpful. I mean,
from your mouth to God's ears, Brian.
Right.
The sporting gods need to listen.
I would say that they're not a young team, right? So some of their core players, KDB could lag a little bit, Kovacic, Gundo, whoever plays in Champions League. But anyway, I digress. I think this one is full of goals, and I would say as a Chelsea supporter, you're hoping for a 2-2, but that really rests on Cole Palmer being healthy and being fully fit. So what was your assessment of watching the whole match, and where could he hopefully be at on the weekend with his fitness?
It's fine. He'll be fine. He played the 70 odd minutes. Yeah, he should have had an assist. He honestly could have had a goal. Different day. It's just the reality of the game. Sometimes in a game, Jackson was minutely offsides. That would have been a Cole Palmer assist. There was that Trevoh Chalobah goal that Noni Madueke stole off the goal line. That would have been a Palmer assist. Yeah, so I thought watching the game that I was hard done to not come away with more captaincy points, but it's a game of a small margin, so I wouldn't be too fussed. I expect that Chelsea will put up a strong showing at City, despite being clear underdogs. And I think this Omar Marmoush guy, who City just signed, I think he's going to play a part. God, I hope he doesn't embarrass Sanchez the way some of these other fellas like Semenyo have.
Sanchez embarrasses himself. He doesn't even need to be prompted by an opponent.
He doesn't need help. Yeah, that's true.
Fucking hell. Actually, that was one of my highlights of the game week, actually, was somebody, Kev Johnson, one of my good mates from Down Under. He was just going on about how awful Sanchez is. And then Bucks is like, yeah, but he's fucking still a god compared to the 8 guys backing Sanchez up. Oh, just a diabolical line of goalkeepers we have.
Yeah, brutal. And considering that we had Courtois, we had who was that? Mendy, and we had this Matt Sells guy. All those guys were in the building, and that's coming after Peter Cech, who set the standard for goalkeeping in England. Oh, it's really falling along. Dark and desperate place. It's not good. Let's go to two teams.
I don't mean to fire anybody, but like, where's the talent evaluator and the player
Brighton goalkeeper coach that Potter brought over, maybe that guy should be one of the first candidates going to Mars when we actually get there.
All right. Anything else you want to call out here?
Yeah, Forest at Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth are a great team at home. Chris Wood could not be more informed. Forest could not be more informed. I think this is a bugaboo match. I think this has 1-1 written all over it. I don't know if Chris Wood is the one getting that goal. What do you think?
Man, Bournemouth at home. I see this as a 2-2. I think there's going to be late drama for one of these two teams to tie it in the final 10 minutes. But I'm excited for this one. This is a great clash of non-top six kind of teams that we're used to, and it's just should be a great game.
Yeah, this is a pure watch, and I think if you looked at this match, a couple months ago, you wouldn't waste your time even tuning in. But this is popcorn worthy because both these teams have serious ambition and aspirations of crashing the party when it comes to the Big Six this season.
That's right. All right, let's take our final break, and we're going to come back with hashtag FPL community questions, and then also go over our transfer plans and captaincy shouts. We got a mega segment. We'll be right back.
All right. We are back. Let's dive into the action. Thank you to any fans in hashtag FPL USA, in the hashtag FPL community on social for dropping in some great contributions in the form of your burning questions. Let's start our mailbag off with at FPL Dallas, aka the Count of Tuscany, aka Alessandro, aka Andrew. He's the peanut butter count that we all need. He's asking if he should move Flecken and Nico Jackson to Pickford and Gakpo before the deadline. That way he adds 2 extra fixtures because both Liverpool and Everton will double in game week 24. Do you like that move?
I don't mind it at all. I mean, Nico Jackson obviously has not pulled up any trees or any roots or any stumps or done much of anything over the last number of game weeks. Even when he got an assist, he got the yellow cards, only ended up with a 4-pointer. And I mean, he's sinking like a bag of fucking rocks. He was up to 8.3, 8.4 million. Now he's back down to 7.9 and probably will drop one more time. So I think these moves make sense. Gakpo is, especially if you look at it are you going to get 2 out of 3 starts between Ipswich and the double game week? And then he's likely to come on for at least 25, 30 minutes in the sub appearance. I think it makes a lot of sense for his specific team. Pickford, Fuckford, I mean, he's put up a few performances that make you cringe, but he's also capable of getting an 8-9 pointer. And because the Leicester fixture is in there, I wouldn't mind it. And you have to remember that if you bring in Pickford for your goalie, like some people are thinking about Raya to Pickford, he's going to feature in game week 29, whereas your Liverpool assets you're unlikely to have because the bookies odds say that they will blank in game week 29 and come back against Spurs in the cup. So all things to consider. I like the 2 transfers. If you're going to be priced out, pull the trigger as long as it's not for a hit.
Yeah, I agree. I would not even think twice about this move. The added benefit, and that's the real meta level strategy that you just dropped some knowledge into our listeners' eardrums, Brian, was that game week 29 insight. So in reality, you might be getting 3 extra fixtures here. And right now, Flecken and Nico Jackson are not getting returns. Brentford don't keep clean sheets. Nico Jackson doesn't do attacking returns anymore. So kind of swap to get the extra fixtures and the more informed players. I don't hate it one bit. I think this is a smash when it comes to the transfer confirm button. Make it happen, Alessandro. Next up.
Yo, make that Netflix money. Make that Netflix money, Mr. Count of Tuscany. All right, next up, at my Cayman fan, aka Matt, wants to know what Liverpool triple up sounds good this game week and going forward. So first and foremost, you're already tripled up with 3 Liverpool assets at the moment.
Yeah, I fucked up.
What is your take on you went early? I mean, hey, there's a lot of talented managers that went for Luis Diaz. And once again, it's been a bit of a fucking mixed bag. But
Disaster.
I mean, at least got one goal in that run of 4 or 5 fixtures. But what are your thoughts right now? Give us the top 3 if you only had 2 assets right now, and then also tell us a little bit about like what you're thinking. Is it a time to use the ass man chip? Is it time to bring in a third defender, like a second defender from Liverpool? Just give us all your vibes here on the Liverpool situation, because Ipswich at home is a huge fixture and could even pay off more dividends than the double game week.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's really only 2 avenues to consider. The optimal triple up, if you have a good rank, I think is to go double defense. So you bring in Allison for whoever your keeper is right now. It's probably Raya based on how most of the top 10K is set up. You go Raya to Allison. You already have Trent and Mo Salah. There you go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. That's your triple up. You know you're going to get 180 minutes from Allison in the double game week, and you're also confident he gets the start at Ipswich. So because of that, you get, the certainty of the minutes. And I think that defensively, specifically, these are very appealing games. Now, attacking wise, it's not the best run of double game week. They're away in both the matches. Bournemouth and Everton aren't cupcakes when it comes to defending. So again, I think that the second best triple up in my mind, and this is more of upside chasing, is Salah, Trent, and Cody Gakpo. I think it's pretty clear based on the full rest
I
and
agree
the
with you
form
there.
that he's in that Gakpo has nailed down that left wing spot. He's first choice there. Luis Diaz he's second choice there, and he's 1.5 or 1B for that false 9 striker role. So I just think Gakpo is so clearly head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to non-Mo Salah caliber attackers. He's at a price point that is gettable, and I think that could be a more fun way to attack double game week 24 and also try and get a big attacking haul against Ipswich at home in front of the Anfield faithful. So those are the 2 strategies. I think where I'm sitting, I'm actually considering potentially burning a transfer, move off Luis Diaz, maybe bring in Cody Gakpo. I think that option, the upside there is so great that it might even be worth taking a hit to make that move for my team. I know I'm in a unique space.
Yeah, I think Gakpo has cemented himself in that front 3 and his first choice. I'm kind of curious, again, we're going to talk about double game weekend even in more detail next week, but because Liverpool also need to win the match versus Tottenham in the cup, will they what are they going to play in terms of a front 3? Like, we don't know that. That's going to be if they get out of the first game of the double game week unscathed, and then they play this cup match that they need to win. I mean, quote unquote, need to win. And so that's why I actually don't mind if anybody has Nico Jackson or can afford to get Gakpo this week to get him now, because I don't think he's going to start 4 matches in a row coming up here between the Ipswich match and then the cup tie. So temper your expectations a bit, but I would prefer him over any of the other attackers at this point in time.
That being said, I'm going to reference one of my favorite sayings, which if you're a longtime listener, you'll enjoy hearing shout outs to, which is that the sisters of the poor could score against Tottenham Hotspurs right now. So I think that, they could start Jadon Dans leading the line for Liverpool and still expect to come away in
Team
front of
Dans.
Anfield's fans 3-1. I think that's just the kind of desperate times that exist right now at Hotspurs with their injury crisis. So wouldn't be too fussed by that. And again, I think Gakpo is the upside play. Allison is the protect rank kind of shield play. And it's really just based on the fixtures and the certainty of minutes.
Yeah, I would not bring Allison in if you don't have a secondary keeper, because you're going to need a keeper in 29, assuming that most folks don't free hit and are saving their free hit for game week 34, which is going to be a massive blank. So just looking down the line, these are things to kind of actively think about. And the goalkeeper is going to have less upside, you would think. Although Allison came away with a 9-pointer this freaking weekend.
9-pointer.
So massive. I wish I would have had that instead of Raya. But yeah, we'll go into more detail next week. It's really just, you got to get a little bit lucky. Like some people are going to go for Van Dijk and he's going to get a bullet header and get 12 points in one of these matches. And everyone's going to be like, oh, he was sitting right there for Gabriel and blah, blah, blah. And Gabriel has City. So there's going to be so many knee jerk managers coming out of the woodwork to say that they made the right call. But yeah, it's an interesting spot to be in. I think for me, I want to have enough transfers that I can get 4 to 5 double game week players. I think that's what I'm looking at for my team specifically. I don't think you need to go and use all of your free transfers to get 6. That just does not seem viable to me. 3 shitty assets from the likes of Everton, but 4 definitely with a defender, and then 5 if you're feeling spicy. I mean, again, we're going to talk about this next week, but DCL is sitting right there for every João Pedro owner. It's one move. It's just like, this is your 8th attacker. If you have a strong rotation, I mean, most people would feel comfortable with him as your first bench for a while. So lots of macro points to noodle on, but Leicester at home is tasty. So, all right, we've gone off board a little bit, but double game weeks do that to you, right, Bucks, when they're on the horizon?
Yeah, I think we dropped some serious knowledge there. So thank you for going a little bit deeper into the weeds there. Let's go to Graham Atwell. He's asking if it's worth a transfer to bring in Konate, as right now Trent and Verge are too expensive. He would be selling Colwill to make that happen. Yes, that's an easy move. Chelsea fan here. Colwill is dealing with a knock. Right now, Chalobah, I think, has cemented his spot that he's going to be one of the first choice duo. Now, of course, Colwill, when he comes back fit, will be partnering with him. But right now, Tosin is in great form. He scored 3 goals in his last 4 matches. So
Whoa, is that really
I think
true?
that's going. Yeah,
3 goals?
That's going to be the double up for the next couple game weeks as we look to prioritize Colwill being fit for the kind of stretch run. And the fixtures turn pretty dire for Chelsea after February. So it's all about getting all the best players that they have fit and firing for that stretch run at the end of the season.
Konate is definitely first choice. He's dealing with that pain that we spoke about earlier in the episode, but at his price, I like it. I just see him starting both matches. If he's dealing with pain, he'll come off in the 65th to 85th minute. Like, the slot does not trust the Kwanzaa. So I like that move for you. Especially if you don't want to. I mean, Virgil is 6.4 million. Fucking expensive.
Yeah, super expensive.
And he hasn't donged like he usually does. He usually gets 4 goals a season. He hasn't really put that shift in yet. So some people might say he's due, but yeah, Trent would be my second asset from Liverpool. But if you really truly can't afford him and don't have the transfers to get him, then just skip him and hope for the best with Konate putting in a few 6-pointers in the double game week.
Yeah, sideways shout here is maybe just skip the defenders altogether and get Mikolenko, who's super cheap. Everton also have a double game week there. And again, that way maybe you can use the saved funds from, not leveling up to get Konate. Maybe you get Allison or another Liverpool attacker just to be a little different.
Yeah, and that transitions very nicely into our next question from @BarristerFPL. Wants to know, is it time to move off of double Arsenal defense? We know that Jeremy is a Gunners fan, and he is sick of this double up. So Riot to Pickford seems like the chalk move, but is an alternative like Sells or someone else a better fit? So, I mean, is Pickford the chalk move? Is that true?
I think it's the easiest one if you already have a Liverpool triple up.
Now, yeah,
I think the actual chalk move is going to be Raya to Allison. I think that's probably what the analyticos and what the models are going to be telling managers to do. But it's kind of boring. And again, if Liverpool are going to be pouring in the goals and getting 2 wins,
man. Bucks, you're hurting my feelings because that boring move is one that I've been staring down, even maybe for this week, to go Riot to Allison, because I can't really afford Gakpo without multiple transfers. So
it makes sense. Listen, boring does results. You look at it, some of the best companies in the world are boring companies. They just do boring shit. They make boring stuff and they print money. Why should FPL be any different?
I mean, it's just one of those situations where we've had so many double game weeks in the last couple of years, and there have been a few that are just utter flops. And to go all in on a shitty team in a double game week where you are going to have to use transfers to bring these players back out of your team is something I'm just being mindful of, right? And especially with the Liverpool blanking. So, yeah, I think for the move for Raya, like Gabriel is still carrying that goal threat. Like he still got screwed a couple of game weeks ago on that in that potential goal that ends up being an own goal, and he doesn't even get the assist, and he scores in the cup with a great taking goal. So like I think he's a much better upside pick than Raya. So I'd be happy to send Raya to the moon and get a new goalkeeper in.
Yeah, and I rate it, but I think the only concern, and again, this is why maybe waiting on this move one more game week is important, is Moyes is a totally different strategic setup style than Sean Dyche. So Everton just might not be a great defense to invest in anymore for FPL or in real life if that's something that you are interested in. If you want to see a team really frustrate the opponent for 90 minutes, Everton might not be the cup of tea anymore because they might be playing more free flowing, attacking gusto style football. I'm here for it, but I think that might be frustrating for FPL managers who are looking for an avenue to points when it comes to their cheap defenders. So just something to be aware of, Barrister.
All right. Our next question is from, who is it from? Oh, it's from our friend Eamon, aka Holy Pinto. He wants to know if Palmer is essential, or is it
Fuck this question.
potentially
Why are we
worth
even
to sack him
we should
off for
not answer this.
differentials? I
No,
will
this
say
is
I will say that he is a differential owner, and he's been reaping the rewards of Foden points and got 19 points this game week from him. So he doesn't mind going against a crowd. He's in the top 100K, so having a decent season. I know, Bucks, you're doing all you can to chase and catch him, but I don't think that's going to happen this year.
Hey, there's still time. Don't count me out just yet. This is a 12 round title fight, and it's still only the 7th round, and I'm wobbled, but I'm not down on the mat just yet. So I think Palmer is still one of the best assets in the game, especially with Saka being out injured.
Yep.
There's budget to keep him in, and I think he continues to tick along. I think he has something like 7 double-digit hauls this season, and at least through February, I think he's a must-keep. But what do I know? I'm around 1 million rank, and Eamon, you're around 100K. You're about 100 points better than I am right now at this point in the FPL season. So listen, I think if you want to swerve Palmer to Mbomo as a way to stock up on team value going into the Assman chip and going into some of these double game weeks, I think that makes a lot of sense. But the issue is right now, Man City might be entering a more difficult part of their schedule. And kind of the only reason I think it makes sense to sell someone like Palmer is to get back on with a player like Holland. So if you're not going to do that, I kind of like the idea of keeping Palmer. And I think he might be a captaincy shout in a couple of the next coming game weeks. Definitely not in the double in 24 or in this one away at City. So there's that to consider.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think when you look at his ownership, it's just not worth going against him at this point in time because there's no other truly premium to go after, and he already has Foden. So there's no point for him. Like I think that would be tempting if you're like really, really trying to chase and you're not enthralled with Palmer. But Foden's fixtures are going to get real tough coming up here. So those points, he's enjoyed them, but most managers, I wouldn't recommend bringing Foden in, the guy who's not on pens and not on that many set pieces for City. So just stick with Palmer, and you'll find some differentials. Get Kudus in. It's Kudus season eventually for him with Graham Potter at the helm. So last question, Bucks, before we go to our transfer plans and captaincy shouts, is a fun one from at FPL SideNet. Their podcast Down Under. They want to know what's the best football/soccer film you've seen. So I'm curious, what's your go-to?
Well, the best one is definitely the victory compilation from the Chelsea 2012 Champions League run.
Oh
I
my
watched that on
God.
repeat on YouTube. I put on some
Gross.
awe-inspiring music in the background. That might have even been part of the cause on how I had my first or second child. will not divulge that information. It was so exciting and gripping, to
Oh
say the
my
least.
goodness.
Now, in reality, probably the best one is what is it? There's that Amanda Bynes one. I think it's like She the Man, something like that. That's goes from polar opposites
Oh
here
my
in the Bucksbaum
goodness.
household. That's a great film.
You know what's funny, Bucks, is I have not watched a ton of football movies. I watch hours of YouTube FPL content and shows, but I haven't watched that many movies. And I was also thinking about like a random movie from our formative years as teenagers, and I was thinking Bend It Like Beckham with
Oh my
little
goodness,
Keira
that's
Knightley.
terrible.
Yeah, this
I
is
will say
not the fun answers that you were looking for, other than Bucks's sex story of his first child. But
now I will say there is a great and very compelling project that's in the works with Netflix that I just will give Netflix their second free sponsor shout out here on the podcast. They're doing a Jamie Vardy and Lester docuseries. Have you seen word of this, Brian? Are you aware of that?
I have been, and they have gotten a lot of access, it seems like, behind the scenes. How many Red Bulls will this mother bleeper crush on a daily basis is what I want to see.
The shithousery that's going to be left on the cutting room floor in that docuseries. Oh my God, that could fill Cooperstown, which is a shout out to the Baseball Hall of Fame here in the US of A. They could basically fill the King Power Stadium with all that shithousery, couldn't they?
All right. Thanks again for sending in your questions and engaging with us on social. We love all of you guys for helping support the show and just helping us produce it with great questions. So thank you very much for finding us at FPL USA Press Play on X and Blue Sky and Instagram. So let's transition, Bucks. A couple minutes here left in the show. Tell me about your transfer plans and captaincy shouts.
Yeah, I got 2 free transfers. I got 0.4 million in the bank.
Couple
It's going to be
shekels, not
super
much.
straightforward this game week for me. I'm going to roll the transfer. I want to have 3 going into the double game week. I am tempted by João Pedro to DCL, but it doesn't make sense for me to do it a week early. Let me get some more information, see if that was just a flash in the pan from the Moyes-led Evertonians, or whether this is something that they can consistently deliver more attacking returns. And my captain, also very easy peasy. I'm going to be back to trusting Mo Salah. He has the armband in my bus team. Vice captain on Alexander Isak.
I'm right there with you. Right there with you on the transfer, or sorry, on the captaincy shouts there with Salah leading the line. I mean, after you watch a team give up 6 freaking goals, you're like, of course Mo Salah is going to get at least one and have at least 3 big chances. So easy Mo cap for me. Isak, if that was a home match, then I could be swayed to go that route. But since it's Southampton away, he just gets the little vice captain armband there. For my team, I'm sitting with 4 free transfers. Oh, feels nice to say that.
Are you going to get to 5?
I'm planning to get to 5. Yes, I'm planning to get to 5.
Oh, shit.
I know.
It's going to happen.
Fucking new achievement unlocked, baby. Yep, 5 transfers. I mean, when I look at my side, I could move Raya to Allison. That's something I'm actively thinking about if I'm going to do it in the double. But honestly, I just want full flexibility.
No, dude, that's a move you should make. What are you doing? This isn't no nut November. You could use some of your transfers.
Look, if Luis Diaz goes down, if there's an injury, I'm just really saving those transfers to see in the front line for Liverpool if there's an injury that nails one of these players, and then I'd have the extra transfers. So yeah, that is one thing I'm potentially considering.
Home to Ipswich. You don't just want that jam. You were just talking in the earlier segment how you think Cunha is going to get a goal for Wolves as they host Arsenal, and yet you were saying I think it was going to be 4 or 5-0 as Liverpool just smash Ipswich. What am I missing here?
I said 3-1. I think Ipswich get one late. So
okay,
I don't know. I'm just in a spot where it's not an upside chasing move for, if Allison gets 4 more points than Raya, like whatever. I just want the flexibility.
You greedy
going
fuck.
forward.
Golly.
And plus,
how
cool.
you've changed.
I'm going to unlock an achievement, baby. 5 frees. Let's go. I'm trying to join some of our guys like Wrangler FPL and Connor Hunt, our guy at FPL_Hunt. They've been on 5 free transfers for multiple weeks, so I'm trying to join that fun
Gross.
crew. But
Gross.
my
You know what? You know what?
actually, no, I actually have some FPL questions I need you to help me on, because I have one benching dilemma because I've brought in Eze, who has returned 6 and 6, so solid. Right now, I'm playing him at home versus Brentford over João Pedro home versus Everton. So, what are your thoughts there? You know, it's a tough spot. I have Mbomo as well, Chris Wood at Bournemouth. I feel like those guys are got to be played.
I think you got to start Eze because I think he'll be favored by the bookies to get more of a goal involvement. Now, the only reason that I would actually think about swapping them is that João Pedro has penalties, and right now Eze does not. Mateta has the penalties for Palace. Now, because of that, I don't think there's enough in it. And right now, the reality is João Pedro kind of stinks. He has not been the FPL gold that we were promised. He's kind of been cubic zirconia of FPL.
Who
He's
is
just
that?
been
I'm not aware of his game. Cubic zirconia.
that's a fraud precious metal. It's like a rock that
Wow.
has some shine to it, and often you can pass it off to your
You are a
toddlers as being gold.
wise dad teacher. Wow, thanks for dropping that knowledge on me. I mean,
Despite my strategy and my temperament in the FPL community, I actually know some things about some things, which you might be surprised to hear.
You got a couple FPL screws loose, but the rest of you is put together as a papa. So I can agree with you there. But yeah, I mean, a fucking João Pedro, like he's 5.4 million. Like I don't care. Everyone's like up in arms about this. I'm like, this enables me to have so many good picks. I don't even start him. Everyone just like, I don't know.
The issue
it's funny
is,
to me.
The issue is, right? I think it would be one thing if he was returning sometimes, but he's just so unpredictable. And the midfielders that are in that same price bracket, the 5.8 to 5.2, are really delivering outsized returns. So it just seems silly that we're even having this debate about, should we play our 8th attacker as the forward or the mid? It seems pretty clear that the midfielders are bossing it, especially when it comes to comparison versus João Pedro. It's not good when you have less points than DCL. That's how you know it's gotten barren.
Well, that in one single game week, that's not true for the season.
Come on, it was one game week. That's what have you done for me recently? Daddy come lately.
I mean, look, I'm definitely looking at DCL for the double game week for in that slot because it's just an easy move. But all right, I think that's enough talk. We have another Champions League match tomorrow, so hopefully our Arsenal assets and a few of our other players across our teams make it out of that. Is there European football for fucking like Tottenham and Chelsea?
Yeah,
and
Europa League is also on the rest of this week.
Yeah,
delicious.
So make sure that you save your transfers until later if you can, just so that you get out of the game week unscathed with any injuries. And good luck in game week 23.
Yeah, we are at FPL USA Press Play. It's been another great podcast together with you, Brian. All love. Continue the amazing season that you're on. And hopefully I can, draft off some of your good vibes in game week 23. Wishing everyone green arrows, lots of fun, and lots of enjoying football to watch this midweek in Europe and in the Premier League, which is back to a regular weekend fixture with game week 23. Ta-ta!